Perfect.
Welcome to the Black Men Rock Roundtable. I'm your host, Coach Michael Taylor. With the over-proliferation of negative media images and stereotypes about black men, it should come as no surprise that a lot of black males are pessimistic about the future. We are constantly inundated with statistics about black-on-black crime, high incarceration rates, gang violence, and the figures of high school dropouts. Media coverage of white police officers killing unarmed black males and assertions by black activists that there is a war against black males only serve to exacerbate feelings of hopelessness and powerlessness. The perception that there is a black male crisis is so prevalent that the President of the United States created an initiative called My Brother's Keeper, which was specifically created to help black males overcome the challenges of being black in America. The question we must ask ourselves, however, is this: is there truly a black male crisis in America? At first glance, it appears that the answer is yes. However, I strongly believe that the answer to this question is a firm no. There is no black male crisis in America. So let me explain. I recognize that there are far too many black men who are incarcerated, who have dropped out of high school, and who may have given up on achieving any level of success. I also recognize that too many young black males have lost their lives senselessly at the hands of police officers and at the hands of their own peers. I understand that we have a judicial system that systematically fails young black males simply because of the color of their skin. I am cognizant of the fact that racism still exists and that we're often judged by the color of our skin rather than the content of our character. I know the challenges because I live with them every day. However, I also know that the media seldom shows the flip side of the coin when it comes to black males. They do not highlight the significant drop in the incarceration rates of young black males over the past 12 years. There are no sensational headlines for the increases in the number of black males who are not only graduating high school, but are attending and graduating from college. The media seldom showcases the black men who are running billion-dollar corporations and starting successful home-based businesses at an astonishing rate. They seldom let the world see the astrophysicists, neurologists, psychologists, technologists, and ecologists that happen to be black men. They seldom feature the black men who are loving, caring husbands and nurturing, dedicated fathers. For every negative story about black men, I recognize that there are literally thousands of positive ones that go unnoticed. This is why I do not subscribe to the myth that there is a black male crisis. However, instead of crying racism and attacking a system that is obviously broken, I prefer to accentuate the positives in order to eliminate the negative. So I want to share 7 reasons why I believe every black male should be optimistic about the future. And joining me in this conversation is my good friend and fellow author, Mr. Jonathan Oliver, and we're going to have a conversation about 7 reasons why every black male should be optimistic about the future. So, Jonathan, welcome to the call, and I want to begin first and foremost by simply asking you, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future for black men in general?
Mike, thanks for having me on the call. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And to be honest with you, I'm very excited about the future that are out there for black men. My wife and I are expecting our first child. She's 14 weeks pregnant. It's a great opportunity that we may have a boy. And in having an opportunity of having a boy, it gives me a chance to understand the opportunities that are out there for our child that can go and seize and just be a part of this world in ways that wasn't there for me when I was growing up as a young man. So I would be very negative and pessimistic to think such a way of be afraid for them to come into the world. And honestly, I'm more excited than them to be in the world than I was when I was first going through as a young man.
Well, again, Jonathan, you're actually one of the reasons why I remain optimistic, because when I see young men like yourself who are writing books and empowering men to reach their full potential and to actually create a positive attitude, it gives me hope and optimism for the future. And so that's why I do this program, because I want to showcase the powerful, positive men who are doing amazing things in the world, and you are definitely one of those men. So I want to start with, again, this is a list that I've compiled that, for me, tells me that every black man should be optimistic about the future. And so I believe the first reason that black men should be optimistic is every black man has the capacity to change. So let me explain what I mean by that. It is my belief that every person, every human being has the ability and the capacity to change if they choose to. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you are truly committed to change, or what I mean transform, it's in you to do so. And so the fact that we are all capable of changing gives me reason for optimism. And so people like yourself, Jonathan, who are actually helping men facilitate that change, are going to be part of the solution. So from your perspective, when you think about that first idea, that all men are capable of change, what are your thoughts around that?
I believe something that I carry with me and I focus on when I start to get a little comfortable, and it is a transformed heart produces a transformed life. A transformed heart produces a transformed life. So if you want to ask me about the ability of change, go to the person who's closest to me, my wife, and she'll tell you that she's happy that I've changed from the person I was 3 years ago than I am now. And understand that if I change from the person I was 3 years ago to who I am now, then the future is even brighter to the person I can possibly, to who I can become if I continue to stay on that path of change. So to me, it's a great opportunity to know that I don't have to stay where I am. If I don't like where I am, first thing I have to adjust is my attitude, look within, and then begin to adjust how I want to approach life from the moment I step out on a brand new day. And it all starts with me. So that attitude of change, it gives me the freedom to know that I don't have to feel stuck or isolated or handicapped in a spot that's not working for me and not allowing me to be who I fully am. So I think is a pretty interesting way. You didn't give me a list on the beginning to know what was going to come up, so I'm kind of excited. I'm curious to what's going to come up for us the next thing on the list. But the first one, understanding that I have the opportunity to change, it gives me a sense of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, and that's, for me, I believe the most important thing that a person must do is first and foremost take 100% responsibility for their lives. Because as long as you believe society is victimizing you, your ex-wife is victimizing you, white people are victimizing you, as long as you keep pointing the fingers out there, you will never change. You will always remain a victim. So if you truly want to transform your life, first and foremost, take full responsibility for that life. And as soon
I
as
could
you commit to that, you've laid the foundation for change.
I couldn't agree with you more. My grandmother used to say something like this. My great grandmother actually, she used to say, "It's not always fair, but it's life." It's
Yeah.
not always fair, but it's life. So some things that discourage me, unfortunately, is when I hear an older man, so you said earlier about, you do this work because of a young person like myself striving. But one of the things that make me excited about doing this work is seeing somebody who is seasoned as you are in life, Mike, and you don't feel complacent. You don't feel like, hey, I've done enough, I'm good, I should get my just due. You're always looking and striving on how you can tweak this, how you can add to here, how you can grow in this area. And that encourages me to know that my mind, my body, my soul is constantly always engaging and developing more and more. The thing that discourages me is when I do bump into a man that is 65, 70 years old, and they say, well, this is just the way I always am, this is the way I'm always going to be. And I'm like, ouch, man, that is so, and I feel like we just put ourselves in a box
Yeah.
when we've heard that. So I think that first one on a list of 7 is a way to come swinging out of the box, understanding that change is definitely taking full responsibility with ourselves first.
Yes, and another important aspect, Jonathan, that you just brought up is the importance of having mentors and teachers to support you along the way. You see, I am very proud to be able to say that I've been your mentor. I'm very proud to say that I have watched you grow over the last 5 years or so, and just see the man that you've become. And so, for those men out there who may not have that type of support, it's important to tune into programs like this so that they can be exposed to people that think this way. So, people that say there is lots of possibilities out there for you. And so, that's why this program and the books that you're writing and the books that I write, that's what's going to shift the mentality, especially for black men, when they are exposed to men who think in terms of possibilities instead of limitations. So with
I
that,
couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more.
so let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Another reason why I believe black men should be optimistic, and this one is, it's simple but very powerful, and it is this: there has never been an obstacle placed in front of black men that we have not overcome. So when we look at the media, without question, it appears that, as some activists say, that there is a war against black men. It is my belief and contention that despite everything you see in the media, black men are positioned to experience unprecedented levels of success in this country today. Now, it's difficult to say things like that because some people would accuse me of denying the challenges that are out there. But if you look at the history and if you look at the trajectory that we're on, in my experience, in my perception, I am optimistic that we're moving in the right direction. And so I choose not to focus on the past. I choose to focus on the present and the future of where I want to go. But I think the mindset that I think, especially as black men, that we have to have is that we have overcome every challenge that has ever been placed in front of us. And for me, just knowing that, for example, when I see things like slavery and racism and discrimination, I personally get inspired. I get fired up because what it tells me is that I belong to a group of men who epitomize faith, courage, perseverance, strength. So I'm inspired. I mean, I get fired up when I see those stories. So from your perspective, when you think about that, we have always overcome the obstacles placed in front of us. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I'm gonna go back to my great grandmother once again with another thing that she put in my soul, and it's, you may give out, but don't give up. So it's been time that as black men, we've given out for us being tired, for us to struggle, but we've never given up. So to me, it's all about having a beginner's mind and what type of eyes am I willing to look into something. I can look into the negative side, like this is tough, this is hard, this is a struggle, and I also can look at it and say, you know what, we got a black president. Michael Jordan is one of the first black athletes, billionaires. A pioneer in sports broadcasting. Unfortunately, just passed away. Stuart Scott was one of the best in business that we've ever seen. You can look across the board from athletics to military service to parents to fathers loving on their children and see that doesn't sell. It's not the buzzword. It's not everybody's gonna turn their channel and stay after the commercial and see what's gonna come back because it's not negative. But in a positive light, that's what's happening more and more every day. And that's what I see. And that to me is what makes me understand, like, yeah, we struggle. It's tough. You want to go to the gym and lose 50 pounds, guess what? It's going to hurt. You're going to struggle a little bit. But you keep working, you keep striving. You look in the mirror 9 months later, and you're like, wow, where did this body come from? It's been there the whole time. You just haven't really had a chance to develop it yet. And all around us right now, black men are developing every day and becoming bigger and better and stronger and doing successful, positive things. We're just not beginning to look at it with the right set of eyes to understand that it's happening right before us right now.
Absolutely. And it's amazing because most people will recognize, of course, a Michael Jordan and sports stars, but what a lot of people don't realize is that the gentleman that runs the whole NASA organization is a black guy. People don't realize that the gentleman, actually one of the most brilliant scientific minds on the planet, is a gentleman by the name of Neil deGrasse Tyson. And this guy in terms of science. He's an astrophysicist, and he's absolutely brilliant. And a lot of people haven't even heard of him. I mean, this guy, he had a cable series called Cosmos, and he explains the origin of the universe and how stars are formed. And it's fascinating just to listen to the brother talk. But when I see that, see, it tells me that there are no segments of society that doesn't have black male presence. There are black men in every segment of society. Unfortunately, the media seldom showcases them. So with that thought, once again, I believe that there's never been an obstacle placed in front of us that we haven't overcome. That's reason number 2. Number 3, in the reasons why I believe all black men should be optimistic about the future is this. All black men are capable of creating loving, monogamous relationships. Now, this is a powerful piece because the media-generated perception about black men in relationships is that we aren't capable of creating these types of relationships. You know, if we look at how we're portrayed in the media, especially when you look at, you know, the rap videos and in most mainstream media, you don't see us in loving, nurturing environments with our women. Now, the good news is President Barack Obama shows up and he demonstrates and shows what we're capable of, and now all of a sudden people are going, oh wow, there's a black guy who really loves his wife and his children. He's a great husband. He's a great father. Well, we've known since the beginning of time that we're capable of doing these things, but unfortunately throughout our media, we haven't been exposed to that. And so now it is our responsibility as black men to make sure that we're making relationships top priority in our lives. And so another reason for my optimism is, number 1, Jonathan, I know the relationship you have with your wife, and I know the husband and father that you're going to be. And again, that inspires me. That lets me know where we're moving towards. So I want you, if you would, just speak to the whole idea of creating a marriage, because you know there's this idea, unfortunately, for a lot of black men that marriage is a death sentence, that marriage is a difficult, stressful thing, so why should I even consider getting married? I will say that I absolutely love being married and have created a relationship that truly works for me. And I think it's time that we as black men especially start having a conversation about, number 1, relationships that truly, truly work. So, Jonathan, speak to the audience a little bit about marriage and what it means to you.
Unfortunately, Mike, there are a few case studies with domestic violence, unfortunately, that has happened, that take those athletes and other people and put them in the media, and when the stereotype is what gets the attention. Where behind the scene, there are a lot of strong black men that are loving their wives, communicating with their wives, picking their children up, changing diapers, going to softball games, going to graduations, cooking dinner, and doing all that. For me personally, I feel in my life, in my marriage, that God uses marriage as the ultimate vehicle to get us to touch every possibility that we can in life, and that's through marriage. So for me personally, the most important key ingredient that I have in my marriage is open communication. On Sunday nights, we have a staff meeting, my wife and I, where we sit down and we talk about, as a couple, what are our expectations for the week? What's coming down the line that we need to be aware of? And we're really talking in a way that is being very proactive in our marriage. And then we talk about what are our needs that are maybe not being addressed and what needs to be addressed. And here's the most important thing that we've learned in this entire process. Intimacy, when I was growing up, as a young man, I thought I had to deal with sex. I thought I had to deal with romance. I thought I had to deal with some form of what I can get out of it. What I've learned through marriage and being married for the last almost 6 years on May 1st is that intimacy is really a form of being vulnerable. And in true, honestly, I understand intimacy now as into me you see. Like you into me you see. You see inside of me is intimacy. And that doesn't make the limelight when you're talking about black men in marriage. What happens is you hear the story of a guy who has 34 kids by 17 different women who's getting ready to have his own show on Oprah. Okay, that's what sells, and that's, to me, that's a disgrace to the black men that are communicating openly with their wives, struggling maybe with a job or maybe addiction, a form of a problem, but they're talking about it as a family, as a team, as a unit, and they have God in their life, and they're working it in a way that's like, it's not making the media, but they're going 50 years strong.
Yeah, yeah. And as a matter of fact, the couple, I don't remember the exact time frame, but there's a couple that's been married like 80 something years or something. I mean, just unbelievable. And it happens to be a black guy and his wife. And they've been married. I mean, they're the longest living married couple on the planet.
It's like 82 years.
Yeah, I think it's 82 years, something like this. And so, as you mentioned, what you don't see in the media are those types of stories. And at the same time, though, it is now our responsibility as black men to not only create those types of relationships, but to speak openly with each other about them, to let other men know that it is absolutely possible for us to create loving, as you mentioned, intimate, connected marriages and relationships. So that's another reason for my optimism.
Mike, just to stay on a quick number on that one, I just spent a weekend with some friends, and two other guys married to successful women, and all young black men in our 30s to not even 40 years old, all working marriage, all being in marriage, all loving being married. And I see it every day. I'm around guys like that are successful, that are pharmacists, that are doctors, that are in America making great decisions, doing great things, providing for their family, and they're black. And so I find, like, I almost laugh at the other stuff because I'm like, this is my world. This is
Right.
what I see every day. I don't know the world that you hear about, but this is the world that I live in.
Yeah, because the media's job is to always show you the minority of any minority group. Okay, so think about that. When you look at any minority group, they will always showcase the minority of that particular group. And so when it comes to black men in relationships, we all know they're going to show you the minority of us who aren't engaged in really loving, caring, nurturing type relationships. So we're setting the record straight. It is absolutely possible, and we do it all the time. Create loving, connected relationships. So let's go ahead and move to number 4. Another reason for my optimism is that all black men are capable of being loving, nurturing fathers. Now, this is one that I can definitely speak to as a proud father of 3 grown children. That just lights me up just to think about them. I can honestly say that when I go to my grave, I'll be able to say, if nothing else, I'll be able to say that I was a great father. I was a great father. Now, I didn't have a great father growing up, but I made a commitment that I was going to learn how to be a good father. And so I made it a point to learn. And how I learned is I read books. I modeled after fathers that I saw that were demonstrating what a great father could be like. I actually emulated Dr. Huxtable on The Cosby Show. I wanted to be Dr. Huxtable on The Cosby Show, the way he interacted on television as a father. And so what I know is that despite what the media may say about black men being deadbeat dads, all black men are capable of being committed fathers. We are no different than any other group of men. We don't love our kids any less. We don't shirk responsibility for being fathers. We don't just disappear from being fathers. We're no different than any other group. And that's one of the media-generated stereotypes, that fatherlessness is a black issue. It's not a black issue. Fatherlessness is a male issue, and we have to be willing to take full responsibility to being the best fathers that we can possibly be. So, Jonathan, you're about to fall into that category. And I know without question you're going to be an awesome dad. So, just your thoughts on that, real quickly.
You know, I have a great example. My dad is a great dad. He's a great father, involved in every aspect of our life. My parents divorced at a very young age, but my dad made it a point, made it his responsibility that he was going to be in my life, regardless of what happened with the marriage of my mother. So he was in my life all the time, always around, giving the shirt off his back, and a great example of being a father. Knowing that now I'm getting ready to become a father, I'm so ridiculously excited. Right now, in this moment, every night before we go to bed, I read kid Bible stories to my unborn child, to my wife right now, rubbing on her stomach. I've read 2 baby books on how to be a father, how to be involved with being a father, how to best support your wife as she's going through this transition as carrying a child. And in my life personally, we have a different aspect. You mentioned the Cosby Show. Well, my wife is a physician, so for the first couple of years of our child being born, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad, and she's gonna be going to work, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited about changing the diapers and having that impact, that thumbprint in my child's life. That does not fit anywhere close to what you hear that's so in the media today, in this society today. But in my world, in my life, that's exactly what I see a lot of the times is guys stepping up to the plate, not even step up to the plate, doing what it's just not even a question. It's like it's my
Right.
child. So I don't know the list that other people have, but in my life I see it quite often. I'm excited to become a part of that fraternity.
Well, I tell you, I can't even put into words um, the joy that comes from being a dad. Matter of fact, my son, who's 31, happened to be in town today. Interesting, we're having this conversation, and he and I had lunch, and we were talking about he's thinking about getting married, and we were talking about relationships and marriage, and he's the type of kid that he'll come to me with anything, and he'll speak openly about everything. So we had a really wonderful conversation about marriage and what that's like, and it just really warmed my heart that he's open enough to talk to me about it and share his fears and excuse me, and concerns about even thinking about marriage. So, as mentioned at the beginning of this segment, I just know that I can honestly say that I've been a great dad, and I'm really, really proud of that fact. Not to say that I'm perfect, but I know that I can say without reservation that I've been an excellent father. So, let's go to the next one. Another reason for my optimism is that all black men are capable of creating dynamic health. Now, here's a fact, and the fact is, in most cases, black men do lead the nation in most health-related illnesses and death. That's not a stereotype. That's a fact. We have to learn to take better care of our bodies. It is important, it is absolutely imperative that we make taking care of our physical bodies priority in our lives. Being healthy has to be a priority in our lives. So, working out, watching what you eat, making sure that you're not abusing illegal substances, making sure that you're not depressed and stressed out and using drugs and alcohol as medication to numb your pain. We've got to be willing to deal with the physical aspect of who we are as black men. And so I remain optimistic because we now have more black male physicians than we've ever had, more black male trainers, more black men talking about prostate exams and physical fitness. So once again, I'm excited. Now, as a former trainer in a health club, I understand the value of physical fitness. I am definitely still committed to taking care of my physical body. I go to the gym 3 days a week. So it's an important part of my life. And so we have to have a conversation and a dialogue about the importance of taking care of our physical fitness. So Jonathan, what's your take?
You know, being 35 years old, and over the last couple of years, I've had some of the most great conversations with my dad regarding health. You know, he's 58, and we talk about going to the doctor, making sure that he's staying up the snuff on what's going on with his health. And I can say I'm proud that he's doing that. At 58 years old, he leads that example in my life. On the other side of that coin, being 35, I'm surrounded by a lot of guys that are my age. They're in great shape. They're black men. They work out 5 or 6 days a week. I do CrossFit 6 days a week. People that are going to the gym, exercising, playing basketball, playing golf, eating the right food, being careful what they're putting in their body, understanding that they want to be a great dad. They want to be around and be a great husband. They want to be around and leave a good legacy. And great health is a part of that. So what's the blessing of understanding at one point in our life that we were leading the society for health issues is knowing how to prevent that by becoming more health aware and being more proactive and being healthy. And that's what has come out of that, to where now my wife is a cardiologist, so she's making sure that I'm taking care of myself. But when we go to a doctor's like, "When your blood pressure is great, what do you do?" I exercise and I laugh. I work out and I laugh. That's why I'm in good shape. But I feel like once again, we see things that people want us to see: overweight, here and there, drinking, abuse. When in actuality, that's not really always the case. Few people that are being projected as if it's the entire race itself, and that's not true.
Yeah. Once again, the focus is on the minority of us, but we, especially as black men, must make physical fitness a priority in our lives. And so let's move to the next one. So number 6. Now, this is one that I happen to be somewhat of a technology geek. I'm a technology geek. Absolutely love technology. And so another reason that I'm optimistic about the future for black men is that technology and information is leveling the playing field. And so if I had to use 2 words to say why I'm optimistic about the future, it's technology and information. Because we now have access to technology and information, there is no one or no thing that can keep us from accessing the information that allows us to do whatever we choose to do. You know, when I think about the fact that you and I are having this conversation, and I'm creating this live video broadcast, and I can broadcast this message to literally millions of people around the world, that just tells me that with technology, you can reach anybody. And so for those of us who are willing to learn and embrace technology, there's infinite possibilities in our lives. Now, there's a gentleman by the name of Alvin Toffler who said this: "The functional illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. It will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And so we must understand that our ability to earn is directly linked to our ability and our willingness to learn. So we must invest in technology and information if we truly want to experience unprecedented success in our lives today. So technology is definitely my thing. Jonathan, what are your comments or thoughts on that?
I think it leads further from the very first reason that we are optimistic, and that's the ability to change. The ability to know that we can change. So for me, I've begun to use more technology and understand that I'm dyslexic. Technology, as it increased, has helped my ability to connect with people, helped my ability to use my skills in a way that I can take something that I may struggle with for, let's say, a reading, but I know I'm very much strong in the sense of verbal communicating. And we're sitting here right now talking, chatting, as if we could be just sitting together, collaging on writing a book. And on the other side of that coin, we can send this out to the masses. So instead of talking about this at a coffee shop and only you and I are walking away feeling empowered, we're able to empower possibly millions of people all around the world, all in the form of technology. So if you say knowledge is power, understanding technology and willing to ask for help. That's a key ingredient. Willing to ask for help and say, you know what, I don't understand how to work this. Can you please help me understand how to work this so I can better help myself as well as other people around me?
Yeah, so it's absolutely imperative if you're watching this video, if you're watching this program, it's absolutely imperative that you understand that you don't have to become a computer geek. You don't have to become a technology geek, but it's important that you understand that computers, the internet, and even smartphones today opens up unlimited possibilities for you if you're willing to learn how to use them. So make sure that you embrace technology. Don't be afraid of it. Be willing to learn, how to use it, and it will open up doors for you that you may not have even known were possible. All right. And last but not least, why am I optimistic for black men in the future? And it's actually pretty simple because I personally believe the future is brighter than most people realize. Now, if you ask most people about the state of the world, most people will probably have a pessimistic view about the future. Why is that? It's because they tune into the media, they watch the news all the time, and they've accepted the idea that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and you might as well just give up. Well, if you look a little deeper, I see lots and lots of reasons for optimism. And there's a wonderful book out by a guy named Peter Diamandis, and the book is called Abundance. And the subtitle is The Future is Brighter Than You Think. And when you read the book, it talks about the advances that we're making in medicine, in technology, in world poverty. I mean, it's an amazing viewpoint that very few people are familiar with. Now, Peter Diamandis happens to be a multi-billionaire who started a company that they put together a thing called the X Prize, in which he put up, I believe it was $10 million for the first company that could create a spaceship that broke the Earth atmosphere and was able to come down and land. He created this competition, and so the X Prize, again, companies from all over the world participated, and the guy that actually won it was from here in America. But the point here is that he talks about how society, how the economy, how everything's changing rapidly, but most people aren't aware of it because they're paying so much attention to all the bad news in the media. And so it is my belief, as mentioned, that the future for the world, not just the United States, but for the world, is brighter than most people think. And there's a guy named Friedman who wrote a book called The World is Flat. And in the book, basically what he was saying is that the global economy now sort of ties the whole world together. Where it used to be, you had the United States, you had India, you had China, you had Russia, you had all these different countries, and we were all kind of separated and isolated from each other. Well, with the internet and technology, now all these countries are actually connected. And so the world now being flat, meaning that we are so connected to everybody else that it's almost becoming like a global economy because everyone can do business with everyone, which from some people's perspective is kind of scary. From my perspective, it means opportunity. So I believe, because I am an optimist, not only an optimist, I consider myself to be an irrepressible optimist. Because when I read books like Abundance and several others, I see evidence that there's never been a better time to be alive on this planet than right now. That's what I believe, wholeheartedly. Never been a time that's better, filled with more opportunities than right now on this planet, despite what you may see in the media. So that's the conclusion of why I believe every black man should be optimistic, because we're a part of the same group. We're a part of this whole world, global view. We're not separate from, different than. We're part of the same economy. So we are capable of growing and taking advantage of all these opportunities that are now placed in front of us. It's all a matter of us and our mindsets of whether we see the world as falling apart or coming together. So what's your take, Jonathan? We're going to get you to stretch your mind a little bit. The whole world globally, optimism or pessimism for you?
I used to ask this question at dinner parties when I was younger, and I didn't understand the answer until I've gotten older. And the question was, it was go around for different people. One of the questions was, if you can live in any era in life, what would you want to live in? And almost 10 out of 10 times, if a female was asked that question, her response will always be right now, right now. And as I have become older, I understand the reason of that question and the answer to that question, because right now in this lifetime where we are is so much better and so many more opportunities and so many other chances and access to just do and achieve anything beyond your wildest dream than it was in medieval time, in the Victorian time, and Socrates time, and Plato time. Why would you? And so, as a woman, answer that question, like, why would I want to live in that area of my life when it was such a struggle? And say right now is like it's the greatest opportunity I ever have. As a black man and as a man in life in general, right now where we are is the best opportunity to look forward to waking up on Monday morning and seeing what chances you have to impact your life, your future, your world, the people around you, your community in ways that you've never had before. Every day we wake up, we have some new exciting form of connecting, of growing, of learning, of challenging ourselves that wasn't there the day before. So I get excited about it. I get excited the fact that I can talk to a friend in Bermuda about life, about what's going on through Viber. I get excited that I can talk to somebody in another part of the world through WhatsApp, or I can talk to someone through Skype or through FaceTime. All those forms give opportunities for us to stay connected and to grow. And the world to me is getting smaller because opportunities that we have to say, hey, I FaceTime you when I touch down in Rome, so you can see what it looks like over here. That's an amazing opportunity as black men to grow and to just understand what it means to feel connected and to grow and become bigger and better and stronger and expanding ourselves, not through the negative part of where we are, but through the positive part. Yes, is it struggle? Absolutely. Are we in a broken world? By far. There are things happening around us every day. But if I'm going to be here, as long as I'm going to be here, I might as well enjoy it as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah. That really sums it up. Because, as mentioned, I believe that there's never been a better time than to be alive than right now on this planet. That's my belief. I don't care what color you are. The real question is, what are you going to do with this amazing gift called life that you were given? That's the simple question. What are you going to do with this amazing gift called life? So I want you to think about these 7 reasons why I happen to be optimistic about the future, and I want you to ask yourself as you're viewing this, what are your thoughts? What do you believe about the future? And most importantly, what about your future? Because once again, it's your responsibility to take advantage of all these opportunities that are now in front of you. The real question is, are you going to seize that moment, seize this opportunity to live, to make 2015, let's start right now, to make 2015 your best year ever. That's what we want. We want you to make 2015 your best year ever. And 2016 even better than that. And 2017 even better than that. It's a progression to getting better and better and better. And so here at the Black Men Rock Roundtable, we're providing you with information that we hope can inspire you to create an extraordinary life. And that's what we're all about. So, Jonathan, I want to give you an opportunity to close with any final thoughts that you may have for the viewers about reasons you're optimistic about the future.
You alluded to something a few moments ago, Mike, and I thought it was almost spot on. Is life is what we're born with, living is what we do with it. We're all born with life, but how we decide to live that life is a whole nother story. So I feel like this is one of the greatest times ever in the history of the world to be a black man and to be a man in general, and breaking all different types of stereotypes and just providing for our families, being great dads, understanding how to use technology, being healthy, understanding what it means to change, challenging the way that we're learning, understanding that we're actually smaller and closer to one another than we are far apart from one another. So I'm excited about it. I wake up with a pep in my step, knowing that I have a chance to do something today that I didn't do yesterday. So I'm very excited about it. So the relationship that we have for is you said once my mentor. I feel like as long as you're older than me, and I'm always gonna need advice, you're gonna be my mentor until whoever leaves this world first. So and I look forward to that. So great opportunity that lies ahead of us, and I'm just looking forward to it as they come one day at a time.
Fantastic. And I want to close with this thought. There are two ways to view life, to view the world. One is that life is primarily filled with danger, with only occasional moments of safety. Or you can view life as primarily safe, with only moments of danger. You get to choose how you perceive life, and your perception of life will create your reality of life. So choose to be positive, choose to be optimistic. And when you do that, I can assure you the universe will support you and give you more things to be optimistic about. This has been another chapter of the Black Men Rock Roundtable. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.